Hey guys, sorry I got disconnected earlier. Oh, this smells so good. It really does. I got disconnected earlier. I was out, as you know, I had a bunch of stuff to do with a doggy that we rescued today, and with the construction of the new shelter, and with everything else we got going on, the construction of the new dog shelter, and the doggy that he really needed help today. And unless I took him to the vet, I don't think he would have made it past tonight. He was really, really weak. He's now better. And anyway, so I got really busy. My battery was down, whatever. My battery was just very low, right? Earlier I was making a video, and it was regarding this woman that has been harassing so many of you. I honestly think that one of my volunteers just saved the video, which I normally, I don't really save a lot of videos because it's just too much. Normally these people that are behind the pages don't show their faces. This is a woman that, because she has some satanic advisor talking in her ear, telling her that she's gonna win and blah 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 blah. Another mortal just like her, just like you, just like me, telling her that that they're gonna get her, the moon and the stars. She believes them. She feels she's free of consequences of anything she does, and that's why she's showing her faces. If you notice, Mary doesn't show her face anymore. Tamales doesn't show her face anymore. Nobody shows their faces anymore. This is the only woman out there still from this hate group showing her face. And the reason why is because she claims, as you can see from her own post, to be working with a witch, with a satanic, whatever you want to call them, whatever she calls them her padrino. That's what she calls them. And so these mortals make people believe that they have control over people's lives, over people's futures, destiny, whatever. And so normally what they do is they extract money from them, and they make them believe that they can do whatever they want, right? Sometimes if you're unaware, they can hurt other people. If the victim is unaware, it can work on certain people, and that's what this woman relies on. And the reason why she's really upset now, and finally after 3 years showing her face, because normally she used to do it all through libel, now she's doing it through slander by showing her face. The reason why she's showing her face recently is because, according to her, back in January of this year, she and others paid her padrino to destroy my animal shelter, my dog shelter. You guys have seen what's happened over the last 2 months, right? I had death threats. I had to move my animals out of their shelter after 7 years because she had people come and threaten my life, and we had to get out of there in an emergency. So because we were able to recover immediately, because again, she could have people threaten me and have to get all my dogs, and me being in fear for my life and the life of my dogs. But then again, God is greater. And what happened is that we were able to find a new location within a matter of less than 24 hours. We were able to start building quickly. We've gotten some support from people. The shelter is coming along great. The kennels are coming along great. We now have obviously 2 finished ones that a lot of you know about. And by, I believe, Monday or Tuesday, we will have the other 2. And one of them will have an actual brick wall, a cement wall, which will help, prevent the dogs from, it'll protect the dogs from the sun, from the wind, at least have one wall for now. Which sometimes is enough, especially as the sun is going, especially around 2 in the afternoon. We did it on the west side, so towards the beach, to protect the dogs from the sun, right? And so we're working on that. Hopefully, I know by Monday we'll be done with the metal part of it. And then I think maybe hopefully by Wednesday we'll be done a little bit ahead of schedule, which was Friday because the construction worker did say Friday, a little bit ahead of schedule. Hopefully we'll be done with the wall as well, and hopefully all of it by Wednesday. So things turned out really, really well. The dogs are much happier at their new shelter than they were at the previous shelter. So it looks like to me that whatever hit jobs she put out on us didn't really work. And not only did it not work, in some way it benefited the dogs and I think in the long term, all of us, because yeah, it's been a lot of work for me over the last 6 weeks. But if my dogs are better, I'm better. If my dogs are happy, I'm happy. If my dogs are well, I'm well, right? So the dogs are much happier right now. They are out running, which they couldn't do before at the previous shelter. The way, some of this stuff works, because it's very energetic, whatever these people claim that they're going to do to you, whatever, they wish upon you or whatever, normally it backfires, as you noticed, I think from, photos that she's posted and posted in groups, in public groups, she's had to cut her hair because according to her, she requested from her padrinos, for me to have to cut my hair and go bald, or who knows what the hell she requested, but they were posting about it. She was posting about it, on her hate pages, right? So that didn't happen, as you can tell. And the purpose of, I guess the intent of destroying my dog shelter didn't work either, because not only did they not destroy it, now we have a better shelter, bigger, prettier, more spacious, and which in a few months, I'm sure once it's all done, which I don't think it'll be a few months, I think it'll be maybe a couple months, the dogs will be much, much, much happier. They already are happier, but all of them will be much happier. The ones that are there are already much happier. I love going there. The other place, you guys used to see me for the last 3 years, because I had it for 7 years. I used to kind of stand outside and just kind of like, oh, hi guys, and watch them get taken care of, fed, whatever. But it was more of a, if you notice, I didn't like going inside the house so much. It was kind of a hassle to move around. It was just weird, because it was a residential house. And this is actually a lot. This is a lot better. This is more appropriate, more suitable for a dog shelter. I love going there. I love getting there. I love opening their doors. I love letting them run around, which is kind of dangerous right now because they don't have a fence. But either way, as long as we're watching them, they're normally okay for now. But then we're going to have a fence. And once we have a fence, they're going to be so much better. So, I guess from what she posted on her on her comments, the hundreds of comments that she's made and that she's also made on public forums, is that she was going to do all this to keep me busy and to basically keep my whatever resources, whether it be human resources, financial resources, energetic resources, whatever whatever you need to keep me from getting on the ballot for the primary election on June 7th in California. And, as busy as I got because of the problems basically at this shelter, and not the problems so much, but because of everything that was going on in January and February, I thought to myself, I don't really have a lot of time to go out there and engage with people and collect signatures and create, alliances and create networks and, volunteers. Well, you know what? When she let me know on her hate pages, the multiple hate pages that she has against me, when she let me know that her objective by interfering with my dog shelter and threatening my life at my dog shelter was to keep me off the ballot. I said, oh, well, you know what? No, I am not going to stay off the ballot. She's not going to keep me off the ballot. She doesn't have any power. The people that do these satanic rituals and whatever else, they only have as much power as we allow them to have. I can guarantee you she could spend her whatever, little life savings she has. And she's not only not going to be able to accomplish what she wants, it's going to backfire on her. It already backfired on her hair, which is what she claims, which damage she claims she was going to do to me. Now she's setting herself up for a big lawsuit because, again, when you have a bunch of screenshots, with everything that's going on right now, anybody can come up with screenshots. You can make up anything on the internet, but you can't make up a video. You can't make up somebody claiming that I voted Democrat and that I kissed Hillary Clinton's ass. You can't make that up. It's on a video now saved. And again, as a Republican congressional candidate, that is such a statement that is being posted all over public forums. And being that she's contacting some of the major leaders in America who are basically people who are willing to endorse me in my race. And when she's contacting them, such as she's contacted Trump advisors, she's contacted people like David Basulto from Lexit. She's contacted Jesse from Lexit. She's contacted cops. Anybody you can think of, she's out there contacting. Contacting them directly is technically not against the law. None of it really is against the law, but if she contacts someone directly about me, it's not really libel or slander or defamation because she's doing it through a private party, right? So when she's out there contacting people like Jesse or David or this one or that one and all the hundreds of people she's contacted, she has some sort of immunity. And I'm going to just teach her a little lesson because we know she doesn't know anything about the law and some people don't either. She has sort of an immunity there because it's a private conversation. So as long as it's a private conversation, she has some sort of immunity there, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's proof because the messages are being sent to me, which means she's going from person to person to person, slandering me and defaming me, right? But what she does is that she does it on public forums. She does it on groups that have 360,000 followers on Facebook, on groups that have 50,000 followers, 12,000 followers, 500 followers, whatever. She's even doing it on groups from Texas, Republican groups from Texas, to the point where she's been thrown out of the groups because her behavior and her slander and defamation and libel against me is just not welcome. And the administrators of these groups have thrown her out because they know me and they know that she is just deranged and crazy and a liar, right? So again, she's doing it on public forums. And if you present a bunch of screenshots to a court, it's kind of tough. And then you have to subpoena Facebook and do all this stuff, right? Especially because she doesn't use her real name. She uses an alias, right? But by her getting so pissed off because her santeria is not working and her padrino is not giving her the results that she wanted, but the complete opposite, because not only did I not lose my shelter, I moved to a better shelter. Well, my dogs did anyway. My dogs were moved to a better shelter, much prettier, newer, bigger, healthier. Total opposite from her. Shelter, right? Not only did she not stop me from getting on the ballot, she did the exact opposite because there's nothing that motivates me more than a challenge. Okay. I was just kind of going to go about it and, maybe it would have taken me 2 weeks to get it done, right? Took me 3 days to get it done. Don't challenge me. because if you challenge me, you'll see what I'm capable of, right? So by them challenging me, my group of volunteers were like, oh my God, we have, like, literally, this is what they said. We have never seen someone work like you. Like, you literally did not care. You went out there, I picked them up on a Thursday, I think it was, I picked them up on a Thursday, and around 1 o'clock, or around, actually like 11 o'clock in the morning, right? I was like, guys, this is what we're going to do. We're going to sit down. This is our strategy. This is our plan. This is where we're going. This is how we're going to do this, right? I was very new, even though I've done a lot of canvassing in the past. I was very new to this signature and, reaching out to voters and everything for myself anyway. I've done it for other candidates, but I had never done it for myself. So it was kind of new to me, right? It was something different for me. Well, long story short, between the time I picked them up and the time we had our meeting at 1 o'clock at some Denny's in North Hollywood, and by the time we were done at 7 o'clock, we had created this amazing synergy, because when they saw me go, they were like, oh my God, this woman is determined and nothing is going to stop her. Like, when they were like, it was like 8 o'clock, and they were like, you have to stop. I was like, no, I am not stopping. Nothing's stopping me. And they were like, oh my God. They were like, okay, we promise you, if we leave now, we'll start tomorrow at 7:30. And I was like, okay, fine. Sure enough, 7:30, everybody was ready to go, right? 7:30, we were on our way out there. Anyway, long story short, we needed 40 signatures, right? I mean, we only needed a total of 40 signatures, but as you know, the California overall is very blue, right? And my district is extremely blue. It's like 74 or 77% blue. So it's really hard to get people to say, okay, well, I'm going to give somebody else a chance when I'm perfectly happy with my current, congressman, who is Adam Schiff, right? Long story short, of the 40 signatures that we needed, we got 88, okay? And not only that, but in the meeting, while all of that was going on, I got my team involved in dog rescue, okay? And not only that, but we created some amazing connections with certain people. We just had such a great time. In a matter of 4 days, we accomplished so much. I learned so much. I literally rolled up my sleeves, not only out there, in the district and literally, pounding the pavement to get done whatever we needed to get done, but also at the registrar's office, because there were certain things that I wanted to verify myself, and I did, okay? And anyway, so not only did it not work to keep me off the ballot, but it just motivated me and pushed me and incentivized me to work even harder. So whatever money you paid to your padrino, you need a refund, okay? Just like Fabiana needs a refund for Jovi, okay? But anyway, that's a whole nother brujeria story, right? So anyway, and as far as making me bald, you also need a refund, a big one. Okay. You need a big one. And if you do get that refund, there are some places for hair restoration for you. I'm sure they have them all over Phoenix. I would definitely look into that. Okay. And, so she's really upset. So basically none of the things that she did worked. Whatever money she funded and paid herself, because she's, she claims she has money, but I'm sorry, but somebody who has money drives a brand new car, or not brand new, but, a car that is less than 5 years old. You don't drive a 20-year-old car. A person who has money doesn't spend their life stalking people on the internet. A person who has money dresses a certain way or whatever, her stories are not consistent with the evidence that she shows of herself. There's just no coherence. There's no consistency there, right? So anyway, it'd be like me telling you right now that I know so much about, it'd be like me giving you makeup advice right now. Okay. It'd be like, oh, and all these women watching me and I'm talking about makeup and I look like this when I don't wear any makeup. It wouldn't be consistent, right? But yet if I talk to you about maybe not wearing makeup and maybe, natural ways to keep your skin healthy without wearing any makeup, maybe you would believe me. Again, it's all about the consistency. And whatever comes out of her mouth and her writing is not consistent with what she shows. She claims she has money and she's rich. I mean, maybe because of where she comes from, she feels like she does. But again, it's just not consistent with what she shows and and her image, basically, what we see of her. Right. So I'm assuming, and it's not just that I'm assuming, the little birdie told me that they created this little fund, so they could all hit me with their big guns, and it didn't work. And so they're going crazy. And that's why she's now showing her face, because her own demons are driving her to self-destruction. If you notice, she had never done that before. She had done it all through written comments and written posts that she could easily dispute. All you have to do is delete them and they get disputed. And then but how is she ever going to dispute that on a video made 4 days ago, she clearly and firmly states that I voted for the opposite side in Philadelphia and California, and that I was a supporter of someone who I utterly dislike. How is she going to deny that defaming statement came out of her mouth? She can't. And again, even just that, because we could go back and forth as far as harassment. Oh, she called me fat. She called me ugly. She called me old. She called me muerta de hambre. Well, she called me old. Well, she called me this. Well, she called me this. Well, she called me this. She called me this. We could go back and forth. Okay. But as a congressional candidate, you stated on a video that I voted for for a party that I never voted for. You stated on a video that you have my private voting records, which is a crime, because there's a difference between you knowing my party affiliation history, because even now as a congressional candidate, that's actually public. There's a difference between you knowing my party affiliation and you having access to my private voting records. You just admitted to a crime, which is a felony, on a live video. Again, once they get into their whole santeria, satanic rituals, whatever else, they start destroying themselves. Okay? Oscar thought he was really smart. And he thought, as long as I don't do what Anthony has done, as long as I don't, do stupid things, as long as I, act in a certain way, I'm free of consequences to all I do. Before you knew it, Oscar had a group of armed criminals with a gun to his head. Nobody's free of consequences, and you don't know when it will find you. And by her putting out, and then I haven't even watched the entire video because again I've been busy. But even that small part alone, again, she could call me whatever she wants. She could say that she's investigating my school, whatever. She could call me whatever she wants. She could say that she's, that I'm a muerta de hambre, a beggar. She could, because in the end she's just jealous, right? And because she hates Trump. She hates Republicans, and she hates America. She wishes America was Mexico, like a lot of people do, That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's her political ideologies. She's in a free country, and she could say whatever she wants as far as her political ideologies. She could call me whatever she wants. It's still harassment, but whatever. She could say that I'm ugly, whatever. She could say that whatever. She made up this entire story about my childhood. She just made it up. And when I posted probably about 100 pictures of my childhood, she just went and hid under a rock somewhere, like the rat that she is, because she had nothing else to say. How do you dispute photos? How do you dispute evidence? You can't. She just made up this entire story about my life, which was completely fabricated. And when I posted the reality of my life, and not her made up, whatever childhood or whatever she wishes I would have had, because that's what she had. She was reflecting upon herself. She was telling you her own story. It's sad. And she even posts and says that she comes from nothing and that she has nothing to lose. And that's her attitude. It's a very, and I don't mean this to be rude, but in the books of psychology in Mexico, I have a book called The Psychology of the Mexican, which I got during one of my classes at La Ibero. They describe her in there. And I'm just going to quote the book. And again, I have the book from, years back. They don't have much to live for, right? They live for parties, eating, and there are a bunch of other traits that this book describes. It's a brown, small paperback book that's called The Psychology of the Mexican, La Psicología del Mexicano. The reason why I'm able to read these people the way that I do is because, again, this is a book that I read back in La Ibero that explains a lot of the tamales culture, of the a lot of things. It's pretty interesting. I'll share some of you. I'm going to look for the book because obviously I still have it. I'll look for the book and I'm going to read some parts to you. She's all over that book. Her psychology is all over that book. And she feels she has nothing to lose. Because the thing about them is that they feel very resentful for the Spaniards having had conquered Mexico. They feel like they are victims. They feel like they were taken advantage of. They feel like they were stepped on. They feel like they were conquered. That's just how it happened. Being resentful is a big part of the Mexican culture, right? She's very resentful. And on her post, which I have saved, she claims she comes from nothing. She'll fight with everything because according to her, she's got nothing to lose, right? Again, it's a very common psychology mentality that the book clearly describes, okay? They have an attitude where like, we're going to do whatever it takes and we're going to go out there and we're going to fight with everything we've got. But that was centuries ago, or whatever. That's not now, She brings that attitude to a Phoenix courtroom, and not a Phoenix, to a California, because I'm in California. If she brings that attitude to a California courtroom, I think she's going to realize that she does have something to lose. We're not in Mexico fighting the Spaniards, and and so again, I will share more of that book with you so you guys understand, because I think it's super important. It's funny. I got that book during one of my psychology classes, right? And because of La Ibero being the type of university that it is, I think they make it a point that every psychology class and even communication classes read that book. Because once you read that book, it just helps you understand Mexico. I mean, the name of the book is The Psychology of the Mexican, La Psicología del Mexicano. Why people drink. Why people live for tamales. Why people behave in the way that they do. The loud music, all of it. And it dates back to, a long time ago. And the resentment. Again, I'm quoting a book, and I'd be willing to present this book before a judge. I'm not making these assumptions. This isn't coming out of me. This is coming out of an author of a book that is a requirement at one of Mexico's top schools. It's probably a requirement for every person that attends Universidad Iberoamericana, a Jesuit school that is one of Mexico's top universities. I believe number 2. Again, this is not something that I'm speculating, that I'm making up, that I'm coming up with just now. It's on a book. And I will find it now if I get a chance. And maybe tomorrow, I will read parts of that book to you. Okay? La Psicología del Mexicano. It's brown. I never forgot it. And it helped me understand why it is that people behave the way that they do sometimes in Mexico, and how to get along better. And I think that's the reason why I get along with most Mexicans in Mexico so well. I don't have any problem with them. And how it is that you have to sort of modify your behavior depending on, on that person's, the way they feel about themselves, right? And I think that's why it's a requirement at Universidad Iberoamericana, because most everybody that goes to that school is going to be resented by a lot of people. And understanding it makes you aware of it, makes you aware of the possible encounters that you're going to have throughout your life with people. And not only that, but understand their psychology and how they feel. But that doesn't give them a right to attack you. Just because they are resentful, just because they feel like they are and were taken advantage of, just because they feel like they can't get places, just because they feel like all they really have to live for is food and parties sometimes and music, they don't have the right to attack you. And they don't have the right to attack me either. Okay? Yes, I was blessed. Yes, I come from a good family. Yes, I was blessed to, to have a lot of things that I had, but I also worked without the real need to work just because I wanted to accomplish whatever I wanted to accomplish. My social security records that I could also present to a court show that I started paying taxes in America at 13 years old. I got a job, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. And so this woman has no right whatsoever to take out her engraved, innate anger out on me because of her cultural differences with me. Okay? That's really what it comes down to. She resents me for my attitude. She resents me for the way I am. She resents me because of where I come from. And because of that, she has spent the last 3 years harassing me and attacking me and slandering me. And now publicly, through her mouth, not on a written statement, but through her mouth on a video, claiming that she has records, my voting records, which obviously she must have somebody else's, because I've never voted Democrat. I've never been registered as a Democrat. And again, if you have access to somebody's voting records, you've committed a crime, as far as I know. And again, not voting affiliation, not party affiliation, voting records. She claims I voted Democrat. She doesn't say that I believe she says both, that I was registered as a Democrat and voted in Democrat. And that I was, quote unquote, kissing Hillary Clinton's ass. If you have any proof of that whatsoever, I hope you have it ready, because I have live videos, endless live videos, photos, all kinds of things of my support for Trump as of July 16th, 2015. So you're lying. And you're going to have to prove this before a court, especially because you're posting it on public forums. You're not just saying it to private parties. You're not just saying it in private. You're making these live videos with your face because your brujeria, your santeria is driving you insane. It's backfiring on you. And you're posting this defamation and this slander on public forums against me. And you're contacting leaders. You're contacting groups. You're trying to prevent me from not only running for, well, you can't prevent me from running for Congress, but you're trying to interfere with my congressional race and with my fundraising and with the support of people for me. Through your slander and defamation and stalking and harassment, total different thing. But through your defamation and slander. Okay? So anyway, that's sort of what happens to people that get involved in these satanic religions, rituals, whatever it is that they do, which is also explained, I believe, in the book. But if it's not explained by understanding the psychology of the Mexican, la psicología del mexicano, it will help you understand why it is that they get involved. That they get involved in the things that they get involved in, because they become desperate. That's why it's very important for us as leaders, for me, like you've seen me out there teaching my neighbors how to read and write, how to add and subtract and multiply, because it's really shameful that somebody at 10 years old, as I showed you a few months ago, one of my neighbors who was 10 years old could not read. She couldn't read. And how can anybody get to 10 years old without being able to read and write, What could happen with her if she doesn't learn now is that she'll eventually feel that she's a victim of society and that she has to either take someone's abuse, whether it be a man or an employer or family member, or she'll most likely end up getting pregnant at 14 or 15 because she feels that's her only way out to create a good life for herself. Or since she's in Tijuana, she may try to get across the border illegally and then try to make a life for herself in America and then end up like the woman we're talking about right now. So that's what happens. That's why it's so important for people of any walk of life, of any social structure, of any social hierarchy, of any economic background, to have access to a good, if they can't afford private, at least a good public education. It's really important. This woman can't write in Spanish. She can't write in English. She can't write in any language. I mean, I can understand that learning a second language is hard. I get it. But at least write well in your own language. She can't do that either. She posts videos of herself in Spanish. My God, I don't understand those either. And again, I'm not being rude. I'm being honest. I'm being real. Okay. So for me, I think it's extremely, extremely important for children in places like Mexico and other countries to have a good education as they're growing up, because it will help them not only, and also in America, because it will help them not only excel, obviously, in life, achieve more, but it will also take away that victim mentality, where they feel like others had an advantage over them. And a lot of times they do. I agree with that, I feel that there should be a major reform in private schools in America and public schools in Mexico as well. It's not a mystery that the better that your environment is, the more that you are going to not only absorb as far as education and information and whatever else, but obviously the better quality of life that you have, the better technology that you have, the better surroundings that you have, the better your life overall is going to be. So whenever people say that there is no inequality, they're lying. There is inequality, because obviously if I have, somebody blasting their music in my little tiny apartment somewhere where, I'm trying to study and somebody's blasting their music till 3:00 in the morning. And I have my little brothers and sisters running all around and taking my only pencil and stealing my only notebook or whatever. my education is probably going to be a lot different than if I live in this mansion, as you know, some wish they lived at. And I have a beautiful dining room with, 5 notebooks and 20 pens and classical music playing in the background, and a beautiful dinner with my mom and dad, who are rich and live in a nice, expensive neighborhood. It's really simple, It's really simple. I realized that when I was a kid. I was growing up in La Condesa and other, like areas. I saw my aunts, my uncle, my one uncle surrounded with books. So, so much clothing you couldn't even dream of, magazines, huge house, everything set up for them. And the 22-year-old ladies, girls, 22, 25-year-olds that were working as their maids, they were never gonna have that. They were never gonna have a chance, And you see that in Mexico all the time. That's why they're promoting more equality. That's why they're promoting more social equality. Look at my aunts. Look at what they look like. Think of the life that they had in Mexico. Look at what they're dressed like. I posted a lot of pictures. Obviously, I had a much better quality education at a private school where we got field trips everywhere, where all of us used to go to Disneyland every year or twice a year, and for 2 years I had to go to a public school because we didn't have private schools in Valle de Bravo. So 5 of us that eventually ended up at a private school, we had to spend 2 years at a public school. And it was really sad, guys. It was really sad for me to show up with, I'm going to tell you a story. I used to travel to California, right? And we would buy all kinds of stuff, the little boxes that had all the supplies, and then the school supplies that had the pencils and the colorings. And my grandmother, my aunt, my dad, my mom used to buy us anything we wanted, right? So then we would travel back to Mexico for the school year, to start the school year, right? We would show up first day of school dressed in, all American clothing, because we didn't have American clothing in Mexico. There was a big difference between American clothing and Mexican clothing back then, right? And obviously we used to stand out. It was me, my friend Sienna, who was from Washington, D.C., from Washington State, my other friend Alejandra, who was from Mexico City, and my other friend Alma, who was from Mexico City as well. So it was the 4 of us, right? We were different from the rest of the class, right? Anyway, that's the 4 of us just kind of, stayed together for the 2 years. We did a lot of things together, whatever, because we really didn't have that much in common with everybody else. Anyway, long story short, fast forward 12 years. I made friends with this cool guy, his name was Julio, and is Julio. And one day we were having dinner at this place in Valle de Bravo, right? And he said, oh, Paloma, and I was like, yeah, we're sitting there having dinner. We've been friends for like a year, right? And he goes, when I was in elementary school, we had a Paloma, and her name was Paloma Zuniga. And I was like, what? That's me, And he was like, what? That's you? I was like, yeah, that's me. Because I moved away for years to California, to the US, And I was like, are you joking right now? Or are you just saying this? He was like, what? He was like, oh my God, you are Paloma. And I was like, yeah, He was like, oh my God, I never talked to you because all the things that you brought from America and the way you used to dress. And I used to watch you from across the room, and I was like, we went to school 2 years together in the same room, the same classroom, guys. Julio is his name. And I was like, oh my God. He didn't even know that years later I was the same person. And the way he described me, I was like, the way he saw me back then, that's the way all the other children saw me, Alejandra, Siena, and Alma. It was like we were foreigners to them. And it's so sad, and it shouldn't be that way. because they should have access to the exact same things we have access to, because we were no better than them. And they always felt like we were, you know? And no country should be like that. I don't care if you're in a public school, a private school, whatever you are. No country should be like that, because a lot of people are able to overcome all of that, but some are not. And because of that, they end up committing crimes. Because of that, they end up poor and in the same cycles. And because of that, we have something that all of you will be familiar with, which is illegal immigration. And from what I understand, and I could be wrong, and don't quote me on that one, that's how Deborah, the one that's harassing me, arrived in America. Again, I could be wrong. Okay, we'll let her explain in court. Okay, thank you so much. Bye, guys.